was one of those people who said, black people don't ski, you know. But man, it only took me one run, no lesson, but one run, and I was hooked.
Welcome to our viewers. I'm Christopher Smith, and this is Ramble Presents live from the tent. Today, our guest is Mike Russell, aka Tele Mike of the National Brotherhood of Skiers. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Right on, right on. Glad to be here, brother. Man,
I'm glad you could make it.
The only other place I'd be is the mountain if I weren't here. So.
Well, maybe this weekend. So, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself? You know, introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, man. So they call me Tele Mike Russell, and kind of got that name out of the National Brotherhood of Skiers because one thing, I mean, I do what's called telemark skiing, which is the oldest form of skiing. You know, back in the day, you didn't go to the ski resort. You were going hunting, or you needed to do some transportation, and you were attached, you know, to the ski at your toe. And that's the oldest form, and that form is still the way we ski today. So I'm one of the only brothers, you know, in the National Brotherhood of Skiers doing that. Hence, they're like, oh, you're Tele Mike. So I and also for that organization, I'm the backcountry coordinator. So everything going on outside the ropes, you want to get educated, you want to come out and ski some powder. That's what I'm focused on.
Nice, man of many talents. Fantastic. Where'd you grow up?
Man, I grew up in the cow patty lands of Delaware. You know, my cousins would come to visit me from the city. Like, man, what's that smell? I'm like, you know, that's life, man. That's how we get fed. So, but I'm from the farmlands of Delaware. That's where I grew up. Not a lot of skiing there, bro.
I wouldn't imagine. No.
None.
How long have you been in Colorado?
Man, I've been here for 20 ski seasons. That's kind of how I took off my calendar years these days, is how many years I've been skiing. So I've been here for 20 ski seasons. I call this is my home in this country.
It's a beautiful state.
It is.
So obviously you ski a lot. You've been in Colorado for a while. What do you do to pay for all that gear? You know,
right.
What's your day job?
This gear. You know, yeah, I did go to college, you know, HBCU, Delaware State and all that, man. And, you know, but for money, man, I run project management offices for healthcare companies.
Oh, okay.
So that's my day job, and it allows me to be a little flexible to get in some skiing as well.
Nice. So as we're talking about skiing, tell me about the beginnings, like the origin story of you finding your way from Delaware to Colorado and ending up in this fantastic world of skiing.
Man, I've always been athletic. You know, I grew up playing baseball. That was my first sports passion, and I used to like to go to play a lot of street ball. I mean, I specifically go to Philly, Baltimore, DC to play street ball. I loved, you know, the street ball game, but, you know, played a little bit of college ball, but then after I got, you know, my late 20s, I was like, all right, my shoulder's kind of done, you know, from playing sports, you know, throwing that ball. So I was like, man, I need something to be outside, you know, and I didn't like the winters. So I kind of leaned into it, you know, said, let me get into skiing, and I learned to ski actually in, of all places, Arizona.
Wow.
Sunrise, Arizona. And yeah, man, I was one of those people who said, black people don't ski, you know. But man, it only took me one run, no lesson, but one run, and I was hooked. And that was when I was 28. So.
Wow, nice. Yeah, I myself learned when I was 30.
It's, yeah, you know, even when I was just skiing yesterday, and I'm like, oh, that's why kids ski so much better, because they're so much lower to the ground. You know, when you're older, you're like, you don't want to fall.
Yeah, falling is harder when you're old.
Yeah, right.
So tell me about your first, like what you would describe as your first real experience doing backcountry skiing.
Yeah, man. You know, it kind of comes in two flavors. So when I, you know, really talk about when I really made the decision to get into skiing, because at the level to get to kind of where I'm at, it's all in. It started at 9/11. Long story short, I was there on I-95 from a bird's eye view. I saw the second plane hit. Real quick, that was one of those moments when I was already starting to ski. I was like, what do you really want to do with your life? You're in this corporate life. And man, it was audible. It was like, man, I want to ski. 6 months later, I left my corporate job and came to Colorado. And I got into skiing at Breckenridge. I think you said your son is in the program there. They have a great ski program. I got into skiing, with their ski school, and they would do these side country adventures, out of the ski resort. So that was my first kind of soiree into it. And then, you get with their top ski instructors like Franzi and Matt Belleville, like get the top of the top ski instructors whenever you go get ski lessons. Then from there, I was like, man, I want to really go for it. I started getting into taking lessons, in backcountry skiing. I went to what's called the Colorado Mountain Club Ski Mountaineering School, which is a 6-month class time, and then you go outside and just like, hey Mike, for the next 45 minutes you're leading us, so lead us on out, and they'll tell you, hey, you're either doing a good job or hey, you're about to kill us. so that's how I got into it, man. Yeah. So.
At that time, do you feel like you had the support of family, community, that kind of understood what you wanted to do,
right,
or to lead you?
Yeah. What I say about Colorado a lot, and at that time, especially 20 years ago when I first moved here, I'd say, man, Colorado's the most beautiful but lonely place for a brother. Being up in the mountains, especially up in Summit County, not a lot of diversity, especially 20 years ago. So especially skiing and going in the backcountry, there's not a lot of people I could connect to. However, where you can connect is like-minded people who want to be skiing, who want to do backcountry. So I found a group, called the Tele Buddies. Well, they're all these, I hate to give people stereotypes, but the stereotype that I would give them, they're all hippies. They're like the quintessential Colorado hippie tele skiers. And they're like, yeah, come on with us. And we're on their coattails for a few years. They were teaching me about backcountry skiing, so I got community there. I met a couple brothers, like Carl Terrell, who I joke, he probably came from the Buffalo Soldiers, because he born and raised here in Colorado, and he, got a horse and everything, and we met up. We started doing backcountry, and then from there, we said, man, let's create our own lane. Let's start bringing in other people of color to this backcountry. And man, now we're probably in the National Brotherhood of Skiers. We're probably up to a solid 50, 60 people who are true backcountry skiers. So yeah, started, like they say, it started from the bottom, now I'm here. So
all right.
Yeah.
All right. So in that same vein, what limitations or barriers did you come up against, in the 2 decades of climbing to where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely, man. What it is, like I said, when I do something, I like to find the best of the best, and have them teach me. So trying to get that education, and walk in, with your culture, and at first people were taken back, we don't have too many brothers and sisters, in the backcountry trying to learn this, but once we get, past that, it's the education. It's getting the right education so that, you can, it can be dangerous in the backcountry, so that what you're doing. Also, you need to be able to, say if your partner gets hurt or whatever, gets an avalanche, you need to be able to save them. So it's a trust thing.
Yeah.
So creating those intimate relationships where I can go with people, that was tough. That was a barrier. And then, like I said, just education, to get educated in backcountry it's expensive to get a guide. It's like $800 a day to go to training. You know, it's still another, like avalanche training. It's around $600 to $700. This is it's an expensive entry. You know, the equipment is expensive. So it was those two things, just connection, especially, you know, you don't have people who look like you, finding a connection, and then getting the education. So that those are the two barriers that I had to overcome, and I feel like I've done a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
So all of this kind of culminates up to National Brotherhood of Skiers. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
And, you know, the National Brotherhood of Skiers is that, you know, you could argue that is the largest ski club in the world because it's all black. It's also inclusive. But their kind of mission is to promote and get people to the competitive level, being in the Olympics or the X Games or the World Cup. That's kind of their platform, and they've done that, and they've had some youth that are actually on their way to doing, you know, a lot of that. A couple of them, you know, were just in the Warren Miller movies as well. So also what their mission is look, let's get some brothers and sisters, you know, anyone, but also especially brothers and sisters that are usually not, you know, outside, because you know how we can be sometimes, like, you want me to do what, go where, you know. No, it's going to be brothers and sisters out. Let's get you out, you know, in the mountains, get you some fresh air. Also, another thing that I like to work on with brothers and sisters is their mental health. Being in the mountains is free healthcare. Free healthcare. It does come with a cost, especially being at these ski resorts, but let's figure out how to get people, you know, in the mountains. So that's you know, some of the you know, the platform that the National Brotherhood of Skiers, you know, stands on. My role is more specifically, like I said, being in the backcountry, and then also educating people in how to ski, because it's a, you know, being at the ski resort, look, it's a privilege, you know.
Yes.
You know, so and it's expensive. So I like to get people on skis, and at no cost. You come with me, I'll just teach you for free, you know. So that's what a lot of the National Brotherhood of Skiers is about, getting people, you know, on the mountain, you know, and fellowshipping.
That's fantastic. And how long have you been a part or a member of the organization?
18. I've been there for 18 ski seasons. Woo! So, woo! Lots of parties, man. Lots of parties. But my partying gets every year. My bedtime gets earlier and earlier. You know, they call, you know, if you know, I say that 9 o'clock is the new 12 o'clock. You know.
I agree with that. 9 o'clock is the perfect time to go to bed.
Right.
So why would you say, you know, just kind of in a nutshell, why is this organization so important?
Man, you know, some of it I already talked about, but look, I want to think of it as when I was young, you know, when I'm out there in the farmlands, you know, I'm thinking of, well, what could I do with my life? Oh, well, I saw, okay, I live near Dover Air Force Base. Oh, I can be in the military. I can work on the chicken farms. I can be a farmer. My options seemed very, very small. Now, it wasn't until I would watch like the Olympics or wide world of sports, especially that guy who jumps off and does the crash. You know, I love that. But when I saw that, I didn't see any black people doing it. But still, I was like, I think that looks fun. It's important. So the NBS is important because it's a group of people that, you know, it gives you a platform, or it gives you vision. It gives young people like, oh, wait a minute, there's already a group doing this. Oh, okay, I can step into that. So, and then just the environment that is created in the National, you know, Brotherhood of Skiers, you know, even outside of skiing, the business relationships that you can create, the friendships that you create, it's just, I mean, nothing like it. You know, it's hard to really describe. But I want to go back to also mental health, man. Yeah. I mean, people look forward to, there's a week each city has a club. Here in Denver, you have our 5280 Quincy. He's the president of that. We have Slippers and Sliders and a few more clubs. BIPOC Mountain Collective, but all of these. So each city has a club. So they come together, each year, all of them, and have a summit. It's like 2,000 to 3,000 brothers and sisters walking around a ski resort. So just being in that environment, it does good for your mental health, and it does good for your soul, man, just to be around brothers and sisters like that. It's nothing like it.
That's fantastic. So what are some upcoming projects and events that MBS might be a part of, or maybe even just you?
Yeah, man. So each year we have the early out, which is actually next week's called the homecoming, and that's let's get everyone on snow, get your turns going. So that's actually next week actually in Breckenridge. But every year there's what's called an early out, and then like I said, so this year is the 50th anniversary of the National Brotherhood of Skiers Summit. So taking place in Vail, the February 4th through the 11th. So that's their big, event. So my portion of that will be focusing on the backcountry, elements of that, getting people, up on, backcountry equipment, getting, let's get you out, hiking in the backcountry, or if you don't like to hike, we got snowmobiles and cats for you to, as well. But then, really, at the end of the year, my big effort that I'm focused on is Project Ski Africa. So I'm taking 15 brothers and sisters to the Atlas Mountains of Morocco to go backcountry skiing.
Wow. And what brought on this idea of Project Ski Africa?
So Project Ski Africa is part of a smaller initiative. It's part of a bigger initiative. So when I started getting into backcountry skiing, I said, hey, this is something I can take global. So I started to ski, kind of a bucket list of mine is to backcountry ski on each mountain. On each continent. So myself and a bunch of other brothers and sisters, obviously we've been to North America, we've been to Europe, backcountry skiing in Europe, we've been to backcountry skiing in Chile, Argentina, been backcountry skiing in Japan, I've been backcountry skiing in India. During, over a beer, we could talk about how it was, for those who went, it was during a war where there were shots fired, between Pakistan and India at that time. But what's next is Africa. So we have Africa, we have Antarctica, then we have Australia/New Zealand left. So Project Ski Africa is just the next continent that, on the bucket list. That's how it really came about.
That's really exciting. What does preparation look like for the team or yourself?
Man, first of all, it's the logistics. We're working. First of all, working with a guide, guide service, over there, because I can guide myself around, but I like to work with someone who lives there. Hey, let's follow them, and do their route. So we're gonna, working with the guide service. Also, the fitness. So, we have a brother on our team. His name is Mo. We call him Mo Guyver, but he went to North Carolina A&T and he ran track, and he's like our fitness coach. And this brother, he would be like, so so we're all on an app together, looking at our fitness. He's like, what did you do today? Did you run? Did you do this? How you eating? He will tag you and say, hey man, you got to get after it. So like September, it was run a mile a day. But when you run a mile, then you're like, all right, I'm out here. Let me run 2, 3, 4 more. But by the end of the month, you're like, I just ran 100 miles, like in September. So each month we have a different, fitness goal. But now that ski season's here, it's go skiing and go hiking, and get after it. So So it's really working on the logistics with the guide service, and then getting your fitness together. That's most of what we're focused on. So,
Accountability.
right.
So overall, what would you say you're hoping to achieve at the conclusion of, this Ski Africa and then moving on to Australia and such and such?
With one of my side hobbies, is I like to do videos, just like one we're doing here. I like to mess with a little bit of photography and video. So I like to, I like the mantra of seeing is believing, especially for, brothers and sisters. I want them to see us doing positive things. I mean, you could turn on the news, right? And we were earlier talking about Florida. You could turn on the news in Florida and all types of things negative are happening, especially with people of color. Mm-hmm. I want to be that brother telling positive stories, like, y'all doing what? And I want that kid to be in Florida or in Delaware or wherever he is, the little brother or sister, like, wow, like, I didn't know that we were doing that. Like, hey, I might want to try to do something like that. So what I want is, inspire, other, people, anybody really, that this is accessible, to you. So we'd like to get this documented. We'd like to work with a video house or company to actually get this produced, into a documentary. So we are putting in the work to, work on that. But those are some of the things that we'd like to get out of this and to show people, hey, you could do this too.
Fantastic. So with that in mind, how can other people, how can viewers, people watching this get involved, support, help?
Yeah, Vibe Tribe. You want to go to Vibe Tribe. So we have a donation page there where you can go and donate to Vibe Tribe. You will be directly donating to our cause, which is a 501c3. So that's our main gateway to get in contact with Project Ski Africa.
What comes after this, Mike?
We keep it moving, brother. So obviously after that are the next continents, and I think we left Antarctica towards the end because it's the most expensive. I mean, I would say on the cheap, it's like 15 grand, per person to get there and to go skiing and things like that. But really, what's really after that, the next project that we're already working on is Nevadas de Chien, so going to Chile. So we're, again, taking brothers and sisters from the National Brotherhood of Skiers and guiding them in Nevadas de Chien in Chile. And that takes place in the summer of 2023. And again, it's an experience where, brothers and sisters, like, you can ski in the summertime, and in our summertime, you can ski. So that is the next project that, we're already working on. So we're trying to keep it, 365, 24/7 on the skis, bro.
All right. Final question. What is Mike doing 10 years from now?
Hopefully, bro, the same thing, skiing, and my son will be out of, hopefully he's, doing what he's doing. But, here's what I'm doing in 10 years. I'm getting I'm glad that Ramble is going to be part of my project. I'm getting a Sprinter van. I'm going to Alaska. And I'm going to live out of that Sprinter van, and I'm going to drive all through Alaska and backcountry ski, come through Canada, backcountry ski. I'm thinking by the time I get to the U.S., it's going to be, spring, summertime. So through Western U.S. On that Sprinter van, stopping at Ramble and all these campsites. I also want to surf, rock climb, mountain bike. Those are all the other things that I do, and I do advocate for brothers and sisters, marginalized communities, LGBTQ, to be in those sports as well. So I'm focused on those as well. But go all the way through Central America and keep, surfing, because I love to surf. But by the time I get to South America in my Sprinter van, then it's get back to winter. So I'm going through Peru and I'm backcountry skiing. I'm going through, down through Ecuador, through Chile, and I'm just keeping it moving, with my bucket list and just checking off mountains. So, bro, you need to put Ramble down in South America.
Give us time. We'll be there.
Okay.
Give us time. We'll have you covered in the United States for sure. Well, Mike, it's been a pleasure. I only hope that I can be as exciting and keep it moving as much as you do in the future.
Man, well, I see, you're doing it with Ramble, man. So I love what you're doing. I love the inclusion that you're putting into it, man. Man, I wish y'all were around when I was, because I was, camping, and I think I would have, I like camping, but I think I would have had through Ramble. I had a different experience.
I wish we were around when I was a kid. So, well, thank you so much, Mike. Pleasure talking with you today.
Appreciate you, bro.
This is only the beginning.